Welcome back to Full Court Press, Fast Break News' show to bring you amazing content all MLQ season. My name is Whitney Ho.
And my name is Nick Love. And like always, we're getting straight into the action. To start episode three, week three, we're in, correct? Well,
Yep.
about to be week four, but recap of week three. Starting off with Charlotte versus Detroit. Home series for Detroit came out with a loss 0-3. Charlotte was able to get the sweep, come into the Motor City. Whitney, what were some of your thoughts? Because I know I played slash didn't play. So I wanted to hear your thoughts from a spectator.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought that it was way closer than people were making it out to be. I mean, I know the scores looked close, but I think Detroit did so well, especially with the limited roster that you guys had. Like, no John, no Ray, you going out with an injury. I definitely think that later on in the season, Detroit, like, you guys can get some few things more ironed out. Definitely going to be a threat. But Charlotte also looked good. Charlotte took care of things that they needed to take care of. We'll talk about Austin Cruz a little bit later in our episode, but definitely came out when they needed them. Fully, like great series from Charlotte. I do think Detroit has them later on in the season if they meet again, but it was a great start to the Lakes division. I'm really excited to really excited to see how both of these teams progress throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think for both teams, it was great. Detroit was able to get that first experience. A lot of people had Detroit winning these games in sweeps, particularly like Tea Time had a sweep and a 2-1. I
Mhm.
know Whitney, you had 1-2 yesterday,
Yep.
and then I abstained. Like a lot of people had Detroit winning some of these games. Injuries happen, limited opportunities and subs, particularly on the Detroit side. And I do agree. I think if we get that matchup again later in the season, it'll look a lot different. Then again, like we made so many mistakes as Detroit and that were very preventable and that we're gonna obviously continue to grow, change up some strategy, particularly with subbing, some of our player injury subs, things of that nature. So like I think overall we had a great series. Of course, sad to go down 0-3 to start the season, but still had a lot of great opportunities for growth and learning throughout all three games. And so, like, I'm excited. And I think, both teams had a great showing. Some players, like, wanted to highlight, particularly from the Charlotte side. Celine had an amazing series. Ryan Davis was killing before they got hurt. We're going to talk about Austin a little bit later, particularly on both the chasing and on the seeking side. Um, Karen had a great series as well, providing a lot of pressure as well as Melissa Ross did on a lot of our chasers. And so, like overall, like their chasing game had an incredible series. Cody was coaching extremely well, and so Charlotte was looking good. And I'm excited to see how they look up against Cleveland, and then especially heading in towards Eastern Conference championships. But like they're a good team, and so I don't want people to look at the rankings and see them at the bottom of the list and say like they're not a great team. Every team in MLQ, depending on the series, can like really get you depending on how you come out. Charlotte wanted it a lot more than us, and it shows. And they're looking for something this season, and so Charlotte's going to be a great team for the rest of the season for sure.
Definitely. I think Charlotte also was just better in general on like the execution standpoint, especially in like those final moments. I noticed especially Detroit had a lot of really great offenses where you guys were moving the ball around, getting great looks, and then it would just fall apart at the last second. Like they would take a shot and the look wasn't there, and Charlotte would really capitalize on that on those turnovers, and that was definitely a huge key to their victories, especially in game one. But I mean, I think Charlotte as well. Like they had a great execution. They definitely were able to get in there and capitalize on Detroit's mistakes and make them pay for all of the little slip ups, and that really worked out in their favor. Like we said earlier, all of the games were pretty close, but Charlotte was definitely pretty dominant throughout each of the games, and I'm really excited to see how they continue to grow and see them up against Cleveland, especially. I think that's going to be a really great series.
Yeah, for sure. So thinking about it, MVPs of the series, you got any people off the top of your head?
Well, I have a main MVP, but my nominees, I'll start with my main nominees from this series. So number one is going to be Nick Thompson from Charlotte. They led the series with 7 goals and also had 3 stops. So an amazing presence on Charlotte. Definitely carried the momentum. Also got a shout out to Lynn. 6 stops on 35 drives, a 1.5 average, and a +7. They also lead the league in stops and plus minus. What they are tied with Max Semigran from New York. from New York with those stats, but a great showing for Celine. And then my final nominee is going to be Gwen Pratt from Detroit. Definitely was huge momentum, huge um, with energy. Gwen's energy and their assertiveness and carrying the ball, being a facilitator, that was really huge for Detroit, having that leadership. And Gwen tallied 4 goals, 1 assist, and 2 stops. So great overall series for them as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that too. A big shout out, particularly on like my Detroit side, like Gwen and Amanda Margolis for the Chaser
Mhm.
side played literally almost the entire game between the both of them, as well as Brooke Smiley. Like Brooke was the only beater on our team to not go negative on the weekend and played the most drives out of anybody in the entire series. Like that's big. And so like, we're gonna come back from this and we're gonna, add some more pieces to the squad. Like only things are going up for Detroit. And so, big shout out to them for the weekend. But Whitney, we have a combined MVP out
Yeah.
of this series. Let
The
us know who
first
it is.
ever full court press unanimous MVP, let's say. We're gonna go with Austin Cruz. 6 goals, 2 assists, 3 stops, 2 catches. Just a stellar weekend for Austin all around. Definitely showed up big in big moments. And the highlight clip that we chose for to show you of Austin's amazing weekend was his second catch at the end of game 3. And this was a very, very quick catch. They managed to catch in only about 50 seconds, had one beat, and then first few looks immediately got. One thing that I wanted to talk about, especially with this clip, is Austin's kind of strategy going into against the Seeker. His double swim. And like that was definitely something that I noticed immediately. A lot of Seekers, you don't see a lot of Seekers doing a double swim because, you need to use one hand to hold the broom. But Austin has definitely really mastered using their length to their advantage and being able to use both arms while like holding the broom with their legs. And that was just so huge watching that happen and watching that go down and how it really opened up looks for them and led to that second catch.
Yeah. I mean, Austin from the jump, especially on the chaser side, started the game with Ryan and like literally Ryan was looking for these alley oops and these back cuts on the side where Austin is immediately dunking. Like there easily could have been an extra 2 goals added to Austin's name on the weekend off of like almost beat calls that happened in the game, or like maybe that went through, maybe it didn't. Austin played from phenomenal and was really like getting after it overall in the quad ball game, like hustling for extra balls, like finishing plays out. Like this is an Austin that we saw particularly at Arizona State, right?
Mhm.
And then like we kind of didn't see that much within a USQ season because of them playing with rain and a lot of people playing ahead of them. Like Austin is about to take a huge leap, and I'm like super excited and happy to see how they continue to progress. But if anything, off of this weekend shows like Austin is in for an incredible MLQ season and super excited for them. And they play great. So congrats to you, Austin. Unanimous first MVP of full
Yep.
court press.
Yep. So transitioning into our second series of the weekend, the MLQ game of the or series of the week was hosted in Topeka, Kansas this past Saturday, and it was Houston versus Kansas City. Kansas City is currently our Fast Break News #1 team, and Houston comes in at a very humble #8, but the general consensus has been that they can rise beyond that. So, Nick, how did you feel about this series?
Well, I'll start off on particularly the Houston side. I think considering the team that you're playing against, you came out of the weekend with a W in my sense. Particularly game one started off pretty rough. If I'm not mistaken, Kansas City was 9 for 9 on their first drives, like literally just obliterating on offense. And it was like, this is the #1 team. But you continue to fight throughout that entire time and particularly challenge their chasers and chaser battles and making those great hits and slowing down their offense and making them actually use their beaters in their actual offense and forcing them into half court situations in which most of the time you came out on top. What really I think detracted from your game over the entire weekend was getting stuck into beater play on offense where you couldn't get dodgeballs home, or you're playing duels inside of their paint. Like we just can't be doing that. We have to get dodgeballs home. We have to be able to like stop their chasers because they're a hard team to match up chaser to chaser wise. But I still think you all played a great series overall. Brandon came in and was an immediate game changer for Houston. I thought Riley was incredible, particularly on transitions. So I thought Houston looked great. For KC side, you look good in the beginning, and then it kind of faltered out for games two and games three, particularly when they forced you into those half court sets, or maybe just rushing offenses, or sometimes literally the ball slipping out of hands and just not being ready to finish goals. In which, it's the first game of the series. I mean, first game of the season, right? We have plenty of time to correct some of those mistakes. But overall, I thought you all played great. You came out of there with 3 wins. It doesn't matter what those 3 wins look like, especially when we get to MLQ champs. All that matters is that you win. And so, as long as you keep winning, you're looking good to me.
Definitely. I think the biggest difference between Kansas City and Houston this past weekend, obviously the Chasers, Kansas City Chasers are top notch. You got Mejio, Reyes, they were putting up crazy numbers in these past 3 games. But I think the biggest difference for Kansas City was definitely the beaters. I really want to talk about Addie Himmelman because Addie had an amazing, amazing series for Kansas City. Let me look at her stat. I believe her official stats were 3 stops and a 1.7 average and a +5, but she was genuinely so insane for Kansas City. And her with Chan and Ong as a partnership, that was a great beating pair. Definitely changed the momentum. The beater depth from both Kansas City and Houston is, I feel like, very drastic. Houston not having Javi was really, really tough for them and very unfortunate. But I think Javi coming back will definitely be really big for them and getting some more experience in those beater lines because right now, besides Connor Mason and Sophia, they were rocking with some pretty young beaters. They had Ray Nunez in there, who is a upcoming or rising junior at Texas State. Daisy Alfaro, who is a complete rookie to the sport, and they did wonderful. But definitely something that Houston's going to have to continue to develop throughout the season if they want to continue to be competitive. But the Houston youth also, I feel like showed up huge. Ray and Daisy, they had a great game. It was tough for them at times, and Ray went out with injury in game 2. But they did great, and especially the chasers. We got TJ Farrow, Spencer Quintana, Evan Furchuk. All three of those younger players definitely were huge for Houston, and Houston relied on them a lot to really get things done, and they definitely delivered. And with that, I also want to talk about Riley Molman. And Riley Molman coming to Houston was a game changer for Houston. And I am so excited to see how Riley and Andrew Acosta can continue this season and how Houston's going to play them. Are they going to play them on the same line, have two separate lines, two different facilitators? It's definitely going to be a really, really great watch. Definitely something to keep your eye on.
Yeah. Um, Literally played great. Like it's nothing more that you can really say. But yeah, MVPs of the series for me personally, it's really down to two people in my head. The first person that I have in my head is KJ. Literally in game one, we're about to show the clip. Hit the little pump fake juke to the right, finish on the. Who's doing that, right? The confidence that takes as a chaser and to recognize, especially like the defenders that you're going up against, like taking agency and say, no, I'm going to finish this. I'm doing it on my own. Like that's how people win championships. And so like I love the energy and I love like the grit that I saw out of KJ for this entire weekend. I just thought it was amazing. Addy is also a great shout. Like you mentioned, like Addy and Shannon played incredibly great throughout the entire weekend, particularly on like, their plus minus was really good and making sure that like we're getting dodgeballs home to try to stop Houston's fast breaks. But for my MVP of the series, I'm going to give it to KJ.
Yeah, KJ is a great pull. I think KJ really, really came in clutch for Kansas City, especially with the absence of Bitsy and Mimi. Those are two huge female chasers for Kansas City that make a huge impact, and KJ really picked up the slack and was able to propel Kansas City to those 3 wins that they got. For my MVP, I have 3 nominees. One of my nominees is Addie, and we talked about her already, but amazing series for Addie. My second nominee is going to be Derek Deerking. He also had a wonderful series for Kansas City. It was definitely huge to watch him. 3 stops on 14 drives. That's insane. And 1.6 average and a +5. Derek was amazing and definitely continuing the momentum that he's had throughout the past USQ season into MLQ. And I'm really excited to see how he continues to grow as a beater. And then my final nominee is going to be my new GOAT, Henry Hamilton. That was the craziest fantasy poll on my part. I feel like that I was not super confident, but Henry, you did great. Two catches, especially coming in big time for Kansas City. Great weekend for Henry. But ultimately, my main MVP is going to be Riley Molman. Tagged 8 goals, 4 assists, and 4 stops, and he led the team in all three of those, except for assists, where he's second. And that was just such a huge series for Riley. He's really been progressing as a player, like with Heat this past USQ season. But for my clip, it's going to be a more of a transition moment. Herdade's shot from Kansas City gets blocked, and Riley's immediately on it. He pushes the quad ball on the ground to prevent getting wrapped and immediately picks it up and runs as 3 Kansas City players are chasing him down, including a beater with a dodgeball. But his composure, his assertiveness, everything, he gets the shot off on time. Easy goal for Houston. Great moment, great transition, great weekend from Riley.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how they continue to grow for the rest of the season. Plus, when Houston gets Andrew back, probably for their home series against, is it against San Antonio, their home series?
Yes.
Like, that's going to be electric to watch. Like, they're both extremely fast, like to get to run in transition, especially off of like getting stops. Like, it's going to be a great series to watch. But I also will say, I did let you know about Henry Seeking for KC. Um,
Yes. I'll give you the credit for that one,
I say
but
that, you know.
I'll give you the credit, but I will say I put my faith in Henry and he delivered. So shout out Henry Hamilton.
So yeah, transitioning into the new series for this particular week. First up, we have the Washington Admirals versus the Boston Forge. Um, how are we feeling about it?
Well, I think this is going to be a really interesting one. This is my personal series to watch of the week, especially because of how Boston has changed throughout the years. I mean, obviously, not having Max and Lulu is going to be a very big, I don't want to say problem, but a big change for Boston. They're going to have to rely on some different types of people. Max and Lulu definitely ran their game, and they look to them for so much leadership. And I'm really interested to see how the beating game goes on both sides and what the tempo is going to be like and who they're going to throw out there, who's going to match up against who. But I definitely think that Washington wants to get their lick back because the New York series, that was a tough loss for them. And I think that they believe, well, if I were them, I would believe that we could do better. And I want to see them come out and beat Washington and make a statement and move up in the rankings. You know, they're sitting, I believe, at number 7 right now. So, or number 6, number 7 or number 6. And I think that if they can beat Boston, they definitely deserve to climb in those rankings.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that we came in with fast break news this year was that Boston was ranked above Washington, even though Washington beat them during the actual like MLQ series. Like, you know, people have thoughts, about that. And best thing I can say, this is the weekend to prove it, right? I think Washington is also hungry to get their wins back from New York. But Boston is also looking to the future, right? You lose a lot of pieces, you gain a lot of pieces. Like, how are we going to continue to grow? And so Boston has something to prove, as we can say, even though we did lose Max and Lulu, we have a new set of beaters that are ready to rise up to that challenge, right? And so I'm excited to see, particularly who they throw out at beater, who are they going to be going against. We do get Adrian Koretsky back. So for people that are playing fantasy, we can actually roster them this weekend. But like it'll be interesting to see, like particularly in that beater matchup, if Boston's going to let them do chaser on chaser matchups with which they lost last year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. One thing I will say, let the kids play from UVA. Um, we need to see more. End of story. I'm trying to see some more UVA
I
as a
want to
fan.
see UVA too. Like I don't know why like people think that everyone hates UVA. Like I just want to see UVA go out and do what they do best. I want to see them get some goals, shake up the conversation, and come into next USQ season ready to go. Like I think this is a huge opportunity for UVA to definitely get some great experience on an MLQ team. And I think that UVA in particular would be great against Boston, especially Joey and Nathan and all of their rookies, Kamari Parker, Elizabeth Reinhart. I think all 4 of those players can definitely get a lot of time this weekend, and I want to see them get some playing time.
I want to see big time. Like if Washington plays their UVA kids, and then boom, that's the national championship in the fall. I mean, in the winter. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? I'm just saying stuff on camera.
We'll
Maybe that'll
see.
come true. Who knows?
We'll
But
see.
predictions for the weekend, I'm gonna give you a sweep. I want to say 2-1. Like I want to have faith. Oh, let me say sweep for Washington. I
Mhm.
want to have faith in Boston to win these games. I just want to see what it looks like first, right? Washington looked good at a lot of moments when they played New York. I think they're going to be hungrier, especially off of the rankings, off the loss. Like they have a lot to prove this weekend, and I think they're going to kind of live up to those expectations. So they get Adrian back for this weekend. They do lose Kalen Breslow, who had a great series against New York. But that being said, I think there's still a lot of hungry people on that team that are kind of embarrassed in a lot of ways from their game against New York. So I'm going to take Washington in that sweep.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that and also put my faith in Washington again. I had faith in them last week and I was let down, but to prove there's no hard feelings, I'm taking them again. I'm gonna go with a 2-1 just because I think Boston has the capability to take off a game, obviously. It's more of an execution thing for me. I'm really interested to see if Boston can execute well enough to take off a game against Washington. I think talent-wise, these teams are a lot more even than people think they are. But I'm really excited to see how this series shakes up. Maybe Boston will, pull out the series win and prove both of us wrong. We'll
Yeah.
see.
And I hope y'all do. I truly do. I have a lot of people that I know on Boston that I really like. Ethan Dillon, Swathi, Ryan Leary, Sam
Mhm.
Magner. Senna is rostered this weekend. Like I'm excited to see Boston play. I just want to see it happen before I root for y'all for the rest of the season. I've
Yeah,
seen some Washington. I've seen some things that I like, some things that I dislike, but I have film to look at and say I'm happy about. I just want to get y'all on pen and paper and see what happens this weekend.
definitely. So, looking into our second series preview of this upcoming week, we've got Minneapolis versus Chicago for real this time. So Nick, how are you feeling about this series? Keeping the exhibition match in mind.
Yeah. So one thing about the exhibition match, I know we deferred last week to say go read Brandon Borges, not Brandon Cabina's article,
Yeah.
about the exhibition review. But I did watch two of the games. And some people were playing out of position.
Mhm.
I will say Kennedy Murphy as a beater. I think maybe Kenny should get some more run. Kenny was catching some great balls. I'm just saying, maybe not have Max Meyer beating. No, just my personal thing from what I saw on the film. But a lot of people look good. And I think once games got a little bit tight for Minnie's pride, they were like, okay, let's put Joe in the game at chasing. Let's put Max back in at chasing, and let's finish this game. They're going to have to play that this weekend.
Mhm.
And we're getting a solid, Chicago roster, right? We're getting basically the same thing that we always see. Very dominant. They're going to provide you a lot of pressure. They're going to be flying beaters out to people to provide that pressure, and chasers going to trap players. I'm excited, right? We always get to see like the Chicago Minneapolis series as long as I've been in the league, and I don't know for how long before that. But that being said, I don't know if this mini roster has it on the beating depth to be able to run up against Chicago, to where I feel like Chicago just might have two dodgeballs the entire game. And will many be able to score off of one? I think they for sure have it in them, but can they do it for a whole 25 minutes plus a snitch
Mhm.
catch? Like, I'm not sure, and I don't really think so. So it'll be tough. But I hope, in the course of the actual series that Chicago gets to run a lot through their depth. I want to see a lot more George Blackwell on the field. I'm excited to see Kevin. I want to see Veronica more. Ariana's going to get a great run. I want to see more Camilla. Like, rest the old heads. Like, I don't want to see them. Like, I want to see the young people of Chicago turning up for the entire weekend. Like, I want to see more Andrew Parcham. Andrew had a great USQ Nationals. I want to see more Andrew. Like, this is what I want to see out of Chicago. Like, can you actually score and trust the people on your full team and not just the people that you know that you can score? Also, big shout. This is Allie's first MLQ series back.
Yep.
I'm
Yay.
excited to see Allie, and how they integrate back into the system and how they're feeling and they're ready to go. Like, I want
Mhm.
to see a alley oop to Ben in the back to start the series.
Ah,
Would that be crazy?
ah.
Oh, that would be live. Um, so
Ali
yeah,
got
I'm
that
excited
dog
for
in them,
that
dude.
weekend. And
But
plus, I'm going out to Chicago too, and I might be able to swing by and maybe I'll see it in person. We'll see.
yeah, I'm so excited for this series. I'm really excited to see Chicago. especially just because I think Chicago is in a really great spot right now. But something that's very, very important to consider is the lights are going to be bright for Chicago. Kansas City and New York have already proven why they're top-ranked teams, and now it's Chicago's turn. I think they have a really, really great opportunity to do that and to prove that they're a top three team, top two team, maybe even the best team in the league to all of our fast break news voters. But they definitely have to decisively beat Minneapolis in order to keep up. But I think that Meow Stars managing to take a game off of Minnie was really telling. And obviously, it was an exhibition match. Minnie wasn't playing to their full potential, and neither was Chicago. But Meow Stars did manage to get a game off. And that's definitely something that I'm going to look for going forward into this next series, looking for those younger players, like you mentioned, especially Ariana and Kevin. And I'm really excited to see those two come out. And Camilla, I think Camilla is going to be really, really huge for Chicago this year. She had a great season with Boom Train. This past season was beating with Matt Brown, and definitely have seen some crazy development from Camilla. Great, great player. But I guess getting into predictions, I'm just gonna say here, Chicago 3-0 sweep. We'll see how the scores go, but definitely predicting that Chicago is gonna be able to take care of business this weekend.
Yeah, I basically had the same thing. I think they're going to be able to take care of business, especially being at home against many. I still think it's going to be there are going to be parts of the game. I would particularly say in those first like 10 to 12 minutes where the score might be 4-5, right?
Mhm.
The score might be 7-9. Like that might be the score at 10 minutes. But after that 10 minutes and then going into the secret floor, like I think that's where Chicago is really going to pull away. But I wouldn't be surprised if I check quad ball one or I'm at the game at 10 minutes, it's 3-3. Like, I think there are going to be really tight moments in this game, particularly because I don't think many wants to run up the score. I think they're going to try to keep it as close in a longer game and not being super fast paced. But that's just my point of view. Maybe it looks different. But regardless, give me this week for Chicago.
Yep, definitely very, very excited to see this really, really great matchup. I love quad ball so much. But getting into that, any hot takes for week three or week four, Nick?
Oh, hot takes, hot takes, hot takes. I'm glad to see my quad clips are back. One of the things about quad clips, and this also leads into our next section about fantasy. Last week, Detroit played. I rostered myself. I bet on myself, right? Talked a little crap to Lee in the quad clips, and came out with this from Lee. So maybe I should keep my mouth shut. Um, when it comes to quad clips and rostering myself on the same week. But um, it happens. It happens.
It happens. Everybody can't be 100% all the time. That'd just be stat padding. It's
Yeah, we'll see what happens for Cleveland. It's a different team, different looks. Maybe I'm
yeah.
back and healthy, and I'll drop 200 for you. We'll
I'm
have to
taking
see.
the over when you play Cleveland for sure.
Taking over. I got you. Appreciate it. But yeah, one of the things in fantasy week two recap. Whitney, how'd you do?
I did okay. So I placed 22 out of like 60 something, I believe. So I didn't do horrible. I finished with 705.3 points. And the majority of my points did come from Mejio, as per usual. But Henry Hamilton, that was a great, great pull for me. Henry, thank you. You did wonderful this weekend. But yeah, I mean, I think Javi unfortunately could not make the Kansas City series, and that was a last minute decision. So that was, just a little unfortunate for me, but I'm really, really confident heading into this upcoming week, and hopefully I can improve my ranking. So, Nick, how did you do?
Yeah, play 17. I'm happy, with the result. Honestly, like I of course wasn't expecting myself to get hurt during the first game and then not being able to play for the rest of it. And in that, like still got 40 points out of it.
Mm,
You know, I'm really happy that the rest of my lineup really like filled out. Like Lauren was able to get a lot of points. Mejio was. Celine had an incredible series. One person that definitely should have been rostered, like Usami played incredible, both in goals and assists. Got some stops too. Like I know they were just on MLQ recap and talked about like them as like a hoop defender. Like
mm.
everybody gets shot over. It's all right.
Yeah.
Everybody gets run over. It's all right. Right. You were still able to provide so much offense for your team where like that doesn't really matter to at the end of the day. And then I also, I bet on my own seeker in Detroit and Jackson. Jackson was able to get a pull in game one, so that was also big. So looking to get a comeback this week, 11-17. Still not happy with the performance. Need to crack top 10. And I think that'll really happen this week. I got a good lineup coming, and this time, me and Whitney don't have the same lineup, and we talked about
Yeah,
this.
it's very, very different. It is very different. But yeah, I mean, before we get into my fantasy lineup and a few other things, I want to talk about Riley Usami. I can't believe I didn't talk about Riley Usami earlier because I was watching the game and I like was turning over and doing other stuff and just like keeping it on the back end. And Riley Usami was locked in. He was making these shots, and I was like, wow, like definitely, yeah. I don't know how many fantasy points he got, but if you had Riley Usami, that was a great, great pull. So our first place lineup in week two fantasy obtained 958 points, I believe. And then the roster is Mejio, Reyes, Ross, Smith, Labau, Richard, Cruz, and Davis. So great pull for the week two winner. But for week three, I'm going to start off with my chaser line. I'm going to go with Kevin Fantozzi from Chicago, Max Meyer from Minneapolis, Ali Peachy from Chicago, and Brian Mulcahy from Washington. My beaters are going to be Adrian Koretsky and Camila Rodriguez. My seeker is going to be Matan Schwartz. And finally, my wild card is going to be Joe Goulet. I honestly had a really, really hard time with this week's fantasy lineup because I feel like there's so many different combinations of people that you can put in. You know, following gender rule for fantasy is a little tough. I didn't personally have any problems with that this week. But I want to put my money on some rookies. You know, I have technically, I guess I have three rookies because Ali Peachy is listed as a rookie on fantasy, but Kevin and Matan are the two big rookies that I'm taking a chance on. I'm hoping that Matan can get at least one catch as a seeker and that Kevin can put up some serious numbers against Minneapolis, especially with the absence of Nathan Digman. But we'll see. Hopefully, I can improve my standing a little bit from 17. But so Nick, how's your lineup looking?
Yeah, I really like my lineup this week. I actually had it up on screen and then I clicked off of it, so I lost one of my chasers and I can't remember who I put. So that person's gonna have to be a mystery this week. But for my chaser lineup, I have Riley Andrews. I think Riley's going to play a big role if Nathan's not going to be able to go for this weekend. Keeping as well as Matt Trey will, but I think Riley has a lot more upside in handling the ball a lot more than Matt Troy would. So I picked Riley for that. Liam is always a great pick. Liam's like the third for getting a lot of incredible chaser stops and making some great hits that will earn Liam a lot of points there, as well as just like Liam's ability to just go and finish on hoops. Kennedy Murphy, how can you say no, right? Kennedy was leading by far in chasing stats from last year. Kennedy's ability to find people and just make smart decisions is like one of the rarest abilities like in quad ball in general. And like Kennedy has that perfected to a T. And so have to take Kennedy. My fourth chaser, in Oblivion. We'll have to see what happens when they unlock this weekend. I literally cannot remember who I put. Whitney, do you remember who I put?
I honestly don't remember. I remember you were talking about potentially putting Ariana. I know Ariana was a shout for you, but I don't know if you ended up deciding on who it was.
Don't remember. It
But
could have been Ariana. It could have been Liz Stone. One of them.
yes, Liz Stone, Ariana, those were the
I want. It might have been Liz Stone because I think Liz is going to get a lot of work this weekend without Caitlin being there for um, Washington, as well as like a lot more. Attacking more, particularly on offense. I think Washington's going to pass the ball a lot more against Boston than they did, particularly against New York. And so I think Liz might get a couple touches. So for right now, we're going to put Liz Stone. Whether or not Liz was in my actual lineup or not, we'll have to see on Saturday. For beaters,
sounds good.
though, I'm going to have to go with Adrian who we can roster this week, and not from week one. Adrian's going to play some really big minutes this week for Washington, and particularly against Boston's like beater core. Like I think Adrian had a really great week against them when they played last year. So like, got to go back with Adrian. How can you say no to Matt Brown? It's Matt Brown. Whether or not Matt plays two drives, four drives, in those four drives, I'm gonna get 100 fantasy points. So like, gotta go Matt Brown there. Um, Now the next two were interesting, right? Zan was able to catch. against New York. And I'm not sure who Boston 100% is going to throw out there, who has control. But I think if they're going to run Zan at seeking, I'm going to take Zan here. And the reason is because I also want to take Joe Goulet at my wild card to both get those chasing and those seeking, just in case
Yeah.
that Joe is able to fly around a dodgeball, do a up and under, grab a tail, like it might happen. So like you can't say no to trying to get Joe some points there in the seeking game. And so I think that's gonna round out my fantasy lineup. And I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I definitely think that the strat is to put a chaser seeker in the wild card. I mean personally, when I had Addy in the wild card last week, it did work out for me.
Yeah, it did.
However, I did notice that the people who had Ryan Davis in that wild card, they were raking in the points. So I think going forward, I'm going to continue to do the chaser seeker strat. But transitioning into our last section, the fun stuff, we do not have an activity planned because we have a surprise for you guys next week. So our fun stuff is just going to be me yapping about the World Cup. And I think my unbiased opinion is it's not coming home. England does not have what it takes. Number two, the U.S. national team is going to make a deeper run than people are expecting. Their game against Paraguay was like genuinely some of the best soccer that I have seen from the men's national team, I think ever in my life. Portugal, I don't know, guys. You need to get it together. And I know going with that, I'm a huge advocate of Spain, and Spain also had a pretty poor first game, run, tied 0-0, but that was definitely due to opposition goalkeeping and Spain just not being able to finish. So I think if either of those teams want to make a deep run, they definitely need to figure it out sooner rather than later. But going off of that, Messi's still the GOAT, and I'm going to rest my case. He's the greatest of all time. No debate anymore. Hat trick. How old is he? 38. Hat trick in the World Cup. Things, top 10 things you love to see. Did you get the
Insane.
chance to watch any games?
I was able to watch the US game.
Mhm.
That was incredible to watch. Because I didn't think we were going to be scoring that many goals. And it was
Yeah.
just like the opportunities just kept presenting themselves. And I'm just like, finish. And then they did. Like that was great. I was able to catch a little bit of the Netherlands Japan game. That was great. Shout out to
Yeah.
Japan in general, like both in the actual World Cup as well as quad ball. Like they're just such amazing fans and just amazing teams. Like Netherlands is
Yeah.
my personal, like, I think they're gonna win it all.
Yeah.
But also like Messi is scoring a hat trick. Like my friends are talking about it. Like he might be the greatest athlete we've ever seen in our lifetime. Like that's
Yeah.
insane. He's continuously, it's like Messi, Serena, Katie Ledecky, Michael Phelps, Simone Biles, like who else are
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt isn't like, but the stuff that Messi's doing, like if they repeat in Argentina, oh my
He's the
gosh, like
greatest.
I don't
He's the
even
greatest of all time. I already think he's the greatest of all time. Okay. Like last World Cup, watching that final, that was actually cinema.
insane.
Okay. That was the greatest game of soccer I've ever seen in my life. The final was, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see because I think it's time for a new generation to kind of get in there. I don't know if it's going to be France. I don't know if it's going to be Spain. I don't know if it's going to be somebody else. But I think the World Cup right now is completely wide open. There is no clear favorite, and that is the beauty about soccer is anything could happen. And I'm really excited to see how the tournament continues to progress. And we're definitely going to be giving it some continuous World Cup updates throughout just because I love soccer and everything about soccer, but we'll try and keep it to a minimum. But next week, we're going to recap week three, which includes Washington versus Boston and Minneapolis for Chicago. And we're also going to be able to preview our following games, which is going to be the Cleveland Rift at the Charlotte Aviators and the San Antonio Soldados versus the Houston Legends. So,
Yeah.
first series for both Cleveland and San Antonio. Very excited to see them come out.
Yeah. Um, keep watching the show. Feel free to comment if you have any special quad ball events you're trying to want us to cover, some storylines, some controversies, maybe some players that you want us to watch some film and highlight on the show. We would love to be able to do that. Follow us on Instagram at FBN quad ball. Like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, and
Yep.
also make sure to read our previews for all of our other articles that are coming out soon.
We'll see you guys next week.
See you.